Music Talk wanders down St. Paul Boulevard to talk to Michael McDermott. Actually, we find Michael in Paris, where he's vacationing with his daughter. St. Paul Boulevard is the title of McDermott's new record, an album he says is about being stuck. And so we begin at the end with the song Paris, which closes out the new record.
Let's save all our money and go to Paris in the spring.
That was the genesis of the song. Was sitting around day after day, and I was just randomly riffing on the guitar, and saving up the money because we didn't know when it was going to end. Then it was
Right.
but we thought it might be a couple of months, and then it just went on and on and on. So yeah, that song was just, and it feels that way, but there's something kind of nice about the looseness of the song. It's not that earnest. It's just kind of there's not much to it. It's just this meditation on let's go to Paris. Like that's
Right.
all it was. So, but funny enough, those songs are often the most well received. When they don't seem like there's a lot of thought put into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've read that the album as a whole is kind of a concept album of sorts. What does that exactly mean?
Yeah, I know. That's getting a lot of traction for some reason because I'm like, is it? No. So it's just when this started coming together, it seemed like there was like a template that my mind just kind of defaulted to, and it was a time in my life in the I don't know, late '90s through the early 2000s up to 2010, where it was a place I was living, and it just seemed like there were all these characters and all these people and really it's an album about being stuck, and that's where I was. I got stuck on this fictional place because people are like, where's St. Paul's Boulevard? For me, it's a place in Chicago, but it's not an actual place, and I don't want to give it away because I don't want to give it too much of a definition. So it was
Right.
an area where I was living, where there was all these characters, and it was a lot of the music people and an artist community of that time, and it was all just very high drama, a lot of drinking, a lot of like mayhem, and that's for
Yep.
whatever reason that's where my brain went to with these songs, and that's where these characters kind of like lived out these scenes, and but it was really like for me when it was the first time in my life I realized my life is not going to work out the way I wanted it to, and that's a very weird place to be. When you're
Yeah.
old enough to know your idyllic dreaming of your early 20s is kind of gone. Like this thing isn't going to work out for me, and
Yeah.
like my early successes and brushes with stardom, that's gone, man. And now we're in a very different world, one a very nefarious world, a lot of underground and a lot of underhanded things going on, and a lot of crazy characters, those gun runners, and there's drug addicts and grifters, and that was the world I found myself in, and I thought, fuck, this is not where I thought this was going to lead. And I
Right.
got stuck there for a long time, and it became my life. It wasn't just a delve into the underground. It was like, this is who I am, and it wasn't fun. And I remember when ended up ultimately getting locked up in jail. I thought, and I looked around. I remember there was that moment of looking around. When I first got arrested, it was a lockup where you're with a bunch of people and all just very bad people. And I remember going, what am I doing here with these people? And then another voice said to me, these are your people, man. You are one of these
Right.
people. You're not. I was like, look at all these losers. And then I went,
Right.
no, dude,
Yeah.
you're here for a reason.
No, that's not what you want to hear.
No, yeah, from yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So did you have to come to some kind of reckoning with yourself?
Sure. Yeah. It took a long time to get out of it. And it was 20 years of living there. And that's, so I know this, I know the corners well in that life. And I
Right.
don't know, and it's not like I even sat down to write about it. It was just like, for whatever reason, when I write all the time. So, but for whatever reason, I was always drawn back to those things. And delved into that world because I thought in some ways it was romantic, and I was kind of like living out like I didn't think I would get stuck down there. But the funny thing is about it, I wanted to know about the underworld and I wanted to know about the underground, and you know what? And I was writing of it while it was all happening, but my clarity on it is much better that I'm not there. It's funny. I went
Yeah.
down there to find it, and now I've really found it when now getting out of it. I think
Different
I found it.
perspective.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's I think why I kept going back to it, because I thought the writing was interesting, more interesting than it was when I was there.
Right, right, right. Yep. And so, how do the folks who are your fans relate to that? Do
Well,
they?
so I've never understood that, because I know the people that come to my shows, and I don't understand what it is they connect with about it. But because it's
Right,
not just my story. I made a joke one time on stage. I'm like, now when I speak about a heroin addict, think about maybe your boss, or when I talk about a crack house, think about your cubicle at work. Like I was riffing on all these things about, like, I don't know what you guys get about all these characters, but I think it's in any way. In the same way we connect to movies that about characters we have nothing in common with, that are sometimes resonate more deeply than anything. But I think it's not a specific story, and I think in recovery I found that everybody's story is the same. You go into recovery thinking no one understands my pain, no one understands
right.
the things I've been through. Bullshit. They all do. You're not unique. We're
Yep,
all
yep,
one.
yep.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing. I thought I was writing from some unique perspective, but I wasn't. I was fooling
Right,
myself
gotcha.
again. And that's what I'm a great con man of myself. So
Now, speaking of perspectives and traveling and all that, you have a video for Sick of This Town,
yes.
which it looks like it was shot in like 6 different countries all over the place.
Yes. Because I think
What happened there?
Whoa, I'm so sick of this town. Whoa, I'm so sick of this town. Why the hell are we still hanging around? Whoa, I'm so sick of this town.
well, because I live in this town that I'm quite sick of, honestly. But I thought it would just be so one dimensional if it was just this little town outside of Chicago. Like, who cares?
Right, right.
It's not visually
Yeah,
stimulating. It's not mentally or physically or spiritually or emotionally interesting. So I just asked some friends. I said, "Hey, man, what are you doing today? You want to just go around town and just catch some stuff?" And really, what they sent back was amazing. And so yeah, we got a bunch of different countries and different cities, and it isn't such a thing about, I'm so sick of this town. Yeah, everybody is, but there's good and bad to every place. Again, not to be a recovery guy, but happiness isn't geographical. Everywhere is,
right.
like, my wife does. She wants to move, and I'm like, man, we're gonna find the same jokers everywhere. I don't see
Yeah,
what we're gonna find in upstate New York any more than outside of Chicago. So
yeah. I can tell you they're still in upstate New York.
you got
I lived
jokers
there.
there, Marty?
We used to. Yeah. Well, I assume they're still there. Yeah, man. And it's followed by a track called "The Arsonist," which to me felt kind of like the centerpiece of the album.
It
It's kind of
is.
epic build up and all that. What can you tell me about
Yeah,
that?
and that's thank you for saying that, because yeah, I didn't. That was a song I didn't think it would. People have responded really strongly to that song, and I'm so grateful for that.
All I ever wanted was a place to feel at home. You said it's gonna be alright. You told me it'll be alright. You said it's gonna be alright. Just let it go.
But yeah, it was just me being the arsonist. I burned people. I burned myself. I burned opportunity. I was an arsonist, and I kind of referred to myself that for years, and I never thought it'd be a song, but like, that's what I was good at. I was burning bridges, man. I'm going
Right.
out tonight and I'm gonna burn this town down, and I did. And it was one of those things. Every morning I woke up and felt like I made a list in my head of who I should send flowers to. You know, like it was just so like, oh God, did I say that? It was like one of those things. But it was became my life, and it was funny. And I think at some level, people, at least I thought in my own head, it was charming. But yeah, so it's about the self sabotaging traits that we all have, and you learn a lot about yourself when you get out of traumatic situations. And
Right. Right.
I found that, yeah, I was burning it down, including myself. And I was talking about, it's funny, you wouldn't think that in those houses of ill repute and all that, there's a lot of great conversations, and a lot of people would say, what would you do, like around drug tables, or, you'd be locked up with people for weeks, and, always get around to money. And people, what would you do with $1 million? Or what would you do if money
Right.
was no object? And people, I'd buy Thailand. And all these idiots, that would come and go. And I always said, just to kind of, I never liked the conversation because it made me think. And that's what I wasn't in these houses to do. But I said, peace. And I think I was thinking back about, that was my default, was saying that. And I think that it was because that, I was always, that we say pleasure is just a dopamine hit, and that's all we do. We all seek pleasure. The Buddhists say that our suffering is only caused by our human wanting, our constant needing and desire, and that's what
Yeah, yeah,
drug.
yeah.
Yeah, and dopamine is the main driver of any addiction. So when I said peace, it was interesting because I thought it was just throwaway thing to say, but that's what I was really looking for, was just some peace. And ultimately I thought that meant my death, and I was a half finished suicide for a long time. And the arsonist in me was just like, I wanted out, and I was not I was just constantly seeking. I was seeking the fame, and seeking drugs, and seeking sex, and seeking booze, and all these things. And the more I got, the less happy I was. And it was I was onto something, like, even then, even though it was a throwaway, but it was just about peace. And that's what I think I've found now, like those things. I've recalibrated all my senses of desire. I don't have any of those anymore because they just didn't serve me. So yeah, I'm trying to, like, quiet that arsonist in me that's just kind of constantly out there, like, looking to take, looking to burn, looking to use, and it is my
Right.
default. And
Yeah.
habits are hard to break, as they say.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
it's,
Now, you're talking a lot about the lyrics and the source, the inspiration to the songs. Music wise, though, you worked with a guy named Stephen Gillis, I believe, was your producer,
I did.
co-producer,
Yes.
and especially with the Arsonist and with with all of them. Actually, there's a lot going on in some of these arrangements and things
Yeah.
coming in and out. So tell me how you guys worked together and what kind of sound you were looking for.
Yeah, he's been the drummer in the band for a long time, and he had a studio, and I was kind of in my Nashville world, and made my records that way. And Steven was just like, dude, I'd love to record you, and I was like, yeah, well, I got a thing. And I was kind of, and then I had him do last record. He did What in the World in New York, Texas, and those just sounded so great. I thought, I gotta let him just run with this. And he did, and he put so much time and care and effort into it, and he's a brilliant producer, and like, to the point where I was like, Steven, come on, man, let's, he's like, I'm still working on this one thing, I was just like, let's get this thing out. And but he took such care to it, that in a way that I hadn't ever worked with anybody that took such deep care with it. And so yeah, so he's amazing, and it sounds like $1 million record to me. It just sounds so great, and
Yep.
I couldn't have done it without him, because I was making, as like these kind of smaller, folksy driven records, and this one, he said, I just want to do what we do live, because people say,
Yeah.
why can't you put out a live record? You guys are so great live, but it's so impossible for me, it seems, to get a good recording of shows, and so that's kind of what we tried to do.
Yep. 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 So was it just you and him together, or are there other
Pretty
people
much. I
playing?
mean, no, we had our band play on it, and I
Right.
still did use Will Kimbrough from Nashville, and John Dederick, and Danny Mitchell. I got some Nashville guys that came in to play on stuff, and David Grissom from Austin, Texas, and
Right.
but we used our band. We had some guys come in and just put some stuff down, but basically it was the band, which was nice too, because we just had a record release show on Saturday, and it was great to finally, when you do when you have all these other guys playing a record, then you go to do it live, never sounds the same, because, well, of course it doesn't sound the same. It's not the same people. So Saturday was great because it sounded like the record right out of the box. So it was great.
Cool, cool. Now I noticed even with the previous album and with this one again, you make a lot of cultural references
Yeah.
to other artists, other songs, which is always fun for me and probably fun for everybody.
Good.
You mentioned Heartbreak Hotel and Leonard Cohen,
Right.
and in Pack the Car, I noticed there was a reference to a Carpenter's tune. We've only just begun. So all.
Yes.
Where does all that come from? Are you thinking about that stuff all the time?
Marty, welcome to my brain.
Yeah, time is running out on you and me and everyone. I wanna stand right up and shout and sing. We've only just begun. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's back the car and go. Come on, come on, come on, come on home. Let's back the car and go.
So Yeah, so I actually in live I do pack the car because it's such a rave up song. I did an East Coast run before the record release show, and I do it as a piano ballad because really, actually, I didn't even realize it. I just thought, how am I going to do this song? As just one guy, an acoustic guitar. I look like an idiot.
Right.
So I actually segue into "We've Only Just Begun," which is very fun to do because I've always, my wife sings, I think, as great as Karen Carpenter. So I always, we always seem to be listening to them. But yeah, I love the Carpenters, and so I can't. But with the band, we do it full on rock. So, but yeah, I just love those things. It is. I'm such a wash of just I think that's just the way my brain works. It's just like kind of constantly noting things, and
Yep.
yeah, so it's fun.
Very cool. And that's followed by a track called Peace, Love, and Brilliant Colors,
Yeah.
which almost has a kind of Celtic vibe to it. And
Oh,
is there a banjo in there? And what's
there is,
happening
yeah,
there?
yeah.
You said every now and then we are bound to stumble, and every now and then we are sure to fall. Come you dreamers and lovers, sisters and brothers, peace, love, and brilliant colors to you all.
Yeah, and so the story on that was during the pandemic, we were doing all these live shows, and the way I opened up the shows to the people that were watching, I said, send in a video, send in a question, or tell us a story, or whatever. So, got interesting videos all around the world. And there was a woman named Mary in Texas who sent in a video about. She said, "I don't know if Michael will remember this, but it's about this is a little video about the first time I met him." And she goes into the story about how we met, and it was during my kind of messy days, and so she said I was leaving a place, and I was kind of fucked up, and I was walking out, stumbling out, and she kind of tapped me as I passed by and said, "Good to meet you, Michael." And I turned around and I looked at her and kind of closed one eye to focus, and I just looked at her and I said, "Peace, love, and brilliant colors." And I turned around and I walked out. And she's like, and I said, so now I thought, no way, that's fucking awesome. Like, I mean, what a jackass thing to say. But it's kind of like, so I saw the video, and then whatever, we did the show and finished it. And I thought I should write a song about that. So that's what I did. So it's almost like I don't remember saying it. I don't remember that scene, but yeah. So it's a fun song, and yeah, it seems to go over well.
So do you have a notebook with you at all times, or when
I
lines
do.
come out of the blue like that?
Yeah. Well, so yeah, a lot of it's on the phone. I hate to say,
Right.
little
Yes, sir.
things.
Well,
Yeah, my notes. It's just pages of stuff. And but yeah, so I do now that we're in Paris, and I'm telling my daughter, who does not like to write. I said we'll just go to a cafe. We'll go to where Hemingway went, and
right.
we'll just sit there and write. And she's like, "Write what?" And I said, "Write anything." And she's like, "With what?" I said, "With a pen." Or why are you making this confusing? Like.
Oh boy.
So, I know. So I'm like, because what the greatest thing, Marty, she doesn't have. She can't get. We have our phones on airplane mode except when we're in the hotel, so she won't
Yep.
be able to do TikTok or anything like that, which I love. So it's just watching her to
Okay.
have isolated thoughts is amazing. I'm like,
You'll be forced to speak to each other.
no, I know. I
Oh
can't
well.
wait. Yeah.
And I'm sure it sounds like you're gonna have a ball.
I hope so. Today's going to be, the certain touristy things can be a grind, and like go to the
Right.
Eiffel Tower and figuring out a new subway system, and we'll get lost, and yeah. So getting out of the plane, we were the last ones on the plane because they had to get coffee. I don't know. It was just so. But yeah, it'll be great, and it's Paris is amazing, So
And so when you get back to the States, you're gonna do some touring or
yeah,
promoting the album.
touring.
What's happening?
Yeah, yeah. I'll be back just in a week, and hit the road, and all kinds of stuff. And and it's funny. It's this hybrid thing of online shows, which has kind of now become
Right.
a thing because I don't think I'll be in Europe until playing until 23. I think they're talking about like Italy in October. I just don't know if that's in because they're talking about another surge then, and who knows.
Right.
So
Nobody knows what's gonna
yeah,
happen.
I know.
I think we can all agree on that nobody knows what's going on.
That's pretty sure of that now. Yeah.
Very cool. All
Yeah.
righty. Well, I'll let you get back to your vacation in
Oh,
Paris.
Marty.
and I'll listen to Paris, and we'll be all good. Thank you. Great to see you again. I can't wait till the next record comes
Oh,
out and see where you
th-
are then.
thank you, Marty. I appreciate your time. Good to see you.
My pleasure. We'll
All
see
right.
you.
So long.
Bye bye.
Bye.